Welcome to the story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and support me. The day started like any other for Deadpool, or as he preferred to call himself, Tia, the greatest superhero in the universe. Bodies, though others might be to differ. Wade Wilson was lounging in the corner of the training room, flipping through a comic book he wasn't thoroughly reading. He had barged in uninvited on Wanda Maximoff's training session, something about practicing a new spell. Wade wasn't too one for detail.
Hey, Wanda, Wade called out, stretching out his legs. What's real with all the hand waving? Are you summoning some pizza? Because I could totally use a whoop.
A burst of red energy shot past Wade's head, missing him by inches and sizzling the comic book into a pile of ash. Wade blinked, staring at the remains. Okay, not cool, he said, standing up and brushing off his suit. I was just getting to the good part. Wanda Maximoff, also known as the Scarlet Witch, shot him a look of pure frustration. Her hands were still glowing with crimson energy and her brow furrowed in concentration. Wade, I am working on something very complicated. Could you just not interrupt? Oh, sure. Sure, Wade said, holding up his hands in mock surrender. I'll just sit here quietly and not mention the fact that you just destroyed a piece of art. I am pretty sure that comic was vintage. Wanda ignored him, focusing on her spell. But Wade, being Wade, couldn't truly help himself. He wandered closer, peering over her shoulder.
What says that one do anyway? He has to turn people into frogs, teleport cheeseburgers directly into your hands. You know, the important stuff.
It sends a time manipulation spell, Wanda said through gritted teeth. Very dangerous if it goes wrong, so please stop distracting me. Dangerous, you say. Wade's eyes lit up with mischief. That's my middle name, actually. It's a Winston, but don't tell anyone. Wanda sighed, clearly on the verge of losing her patience. Just as she was about to send another warning shot of magic his way, something went wrong. A flash of red light exploded from her hands, engulfing Wade before either of them had a chance to react. For a moment, everything was silent. Then Wade blinked. Oh, Wanda, was that supposed to happen? Wanda was gone. The training room was gone. In fact, everything was gone. Wade found himself standing in the middle of nothing. Just a vast empty space stretching out in all directions. Oh, great, Wade muttered to himself, glancing around. Now I am in some kind of freaky void. Thanks, Wanda. He took a step forward, or at least he thought he did. It was hard to tell in the emptiness. Suddenly, the ground shifted beneath him and he was falling fast. Okay, not cool, Wade yelled as the air rushed past him. This is not how I wanted to spend my Tuesday. The fall seemed to last forever, but then with a bone-jarring thud, Wade landed on solid ground. He groaned, sitting up and rubbing his head. The landscape around him had changed completely. Instead of the void, he was now in what looked like a medieval battlefield. Towering castles loomed in the distance, knights in shining armor clashed with each other, and a giant dragon circled overhead. Wade looked down at himself and realized he was wearing a suit of armor. Oh, come on, he groaned. I hate wearing metal. It chafed. A loud roar interrupted his grumbling. Wade looked up just in time to see the dragon diving straight at him, fire blazing from its mouth. Okay, nope. Wade leapt to his feet and ran as fast as he could. The dragon's flame scorched the ground behind him, and he barely managed to dive behind a boulder for cover. This is just great, Wade muttered, peeking out from behind the rock. I am stuck in some kind of medieval nightmare, and there's a giant flying lizard trying to roast me. Typical Tuesday. Suddenly, a figure appeared beside him. Wade blinked, staring at the woman who had seemingly materialized out of nowhere. It was Wanda. Wanda, finally, Wade grinned. I was beginning to think you'd left me to get toasted by this overgrown iguana. Wanda looked around, frowning. I ran a dream, Wade. Yeah, no kidding, Wade said, gesturing to the dragon. It's like Game of Thrones meets my worst nightmare. Wanda shook her head. No, I mean we read in your dream. My spell trapped you in an endless dreamscape, and now I have to get you out. Wait, you did this to me, Wade asked, eyes wide. You trapped me in Dreamland. It was an accident, Wanda said quickly. But this place, it's not safe. Each dream is going to be more dangerous than the last. We need to move quickly before you are trapped here permanently. Wade's size voice went up an octave. I didn't sign up for a lifetime subscription to Crazy Town. Wanda grabbed his arm and pulled him to his feet. Come on, we have to fight through these dreams if we're going to escape. Wade grinned, pulling out his katanas. Now you were speaking my language. Let's then go fight some nightmare. The two of them plunged into the chaos of the battlefield, slashing through armored knights and dodging dragonfire. Wade, as usual, couldn't help but make jokes as they fought.
Hey, Wanda, watch this, he shouted, flipping over a knight and landing a perfect strike. 10 out of 10, I am thinking of going pro.
Wanda rolled her eyes but couldn't help a small smile. Despite the danger, Wade's humor was infectious. Together, they carved a path through the dreamscape, but with every victory, the world around them shifted and warped. One moment, they were in a medieval battle. The next, they were standing in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, the sky dark and filled with smoke. Wade looked around, frowning. Okay, I'm officially over this whole dream thing, he said. When do we get to the part with puppies and rainbows? This is your mind. Wade, Wanda said, scanning the horizon. It's just reflecting your fears and thoughts. We need to find the source of the nightmare to break the cycle. Well, let's hurry it up then, Wade said, adjusting his katanas because I am not a fan of this Mad Max reboot. They started walking through the desolate landscape, stepping over rubble and broken machinery. In the distance, a massive figure loomed, a dark version of Wade, twisted and monstrous, with glowing red eyes. Oh, come on. Wade groaned. An evil version of me. That sounds so cliche. It's part of your nightmare, Wanda said, her voice tense. You have to face it. Wade shrugged. Fine, but I am going to make this quick. I've had a date with reality. As they approached the monstrous version of Wade, it roared and charged at them. Wade grinned, drawing his katana. Let us dance, ugly, he shouted, leaping into the fight. The battle was fierce, with Wade and Wanda working together to take down the monstrous version of Deadpool. But no matter how many strikes Wade landed, the monster kept regenerating, just like him. Great, Wade muttered, panting. It's like looking in a nightmare mirror. Wanda's magic flared, and she managed to hold the creature in place for a moment. You need to break the cycle, Wade. This nightmare is feeding off your fears of being trapped, of not being able to escape. Yeah, I've got some issues, Wade said, wiping sweat from his brow. But how do I fix this? Wanda looked at him, her eyes intense. You have to accept it. Face your fear and use it. It's not the only way to break free. Wade paused, staring at the monstrous version of himself. It was a reflection of all his fears, of pain, of endless regeneration, of never being able to escape the nightmare that was his life. Okay, Wade said, taking a deep breath, let's do this. He charged at the monster, but this time, instead of fighting it, he embraced it. The creature roared, and for a moment, it felt like everything would collapse. But then the nightmare shattered, and the landscape around them began to dissolve. Wanda rushed to Wade's side as the world crumbled. We're not done yet. There's more to this dreamscape. Of course there is, Wade muttered as the dream shifted once again. The world around them morphed again. The dreamscape was relentless, pulling them into yet another twisted version of reality. This time they found themselves in a dense forest, the trees towering over them like silent sentinels. The air was thick with fog, and eerie whispers floated through the mist. Wade glanced around, wiping his forehead and flicking his katanas back into their sheath. Well, this is fun, he muttered. I've always wanted to take a stroll through creepy woods at midnight. Wanda, her gaze sharp and alert, stepped beside him, scanning the shifting shadows around them. We're not safe yet. The dreamscape is still reacting to your mind. The deeper we go, the more dangerous it becomes. Fantastic, Wade said, sarcasm dripping from his voice. It's like a never-ending haunted house tour, except there's no exit, and I didn't even get a ticket. The whispers in the mist grew louder, and shapes began to form in the fog. Wade squinted, trying to make out the figures. Shadows moved between the trees, tall and thin, their movements unnatural like puppets with broken strings. He instinctively reached for his katanas again. Wanda, you see those, right? Please tell me I am not going crazy, Wade said, glancing at her. They were manifestations of your fears. Wanda said quietly, the dream is feeding on your anxiety. The more unsettled you are, the stronger it becomes. Wade let out a low whistle. Well, that's just peachy. Thanks for the therapy session, Doc. Before he could say anything else, the shadows surged forward. Long spindly arms reached out from the fog, grasping for Wade and Wanda. Wade reacted instantly, drawing his blades and slicing through the misty limbs. The figures disintegrated as soon as they were struck, but for every one that disappeared, two more seemed to emerge. This just keeps getting better and better, Wade grunted as he fought off another shadowy creature. Can tree catch a break? Wanda's hands glowed red as she unleashed her magic, sending waves of energy through the fog. The shadows recoiled, but didn't retreat. They pressed on relentless in their attack. No, Wanda said, her voice strained with concentration. This dream won. Stop until we find the core. Something deeper is keeping you trapped here, something you haven't faced yet. Wade paused for a split second, then slashed through another shadow. Well, if it's not unresolved issues we were talking about, we were going to be here for a while. Despite the urgency of the situation, Wade says humor didn't falter, but deep down, he could feel the truth in Wanda's words. The dreamscape was reacting to his fears, his insecurities, things he never let anyone see, not even himself. As the shadows kept coming, Wanda grew more determined. Her magic flared brighter, pushing the mist back, and for the first time, Wade noticed something. Amid the swirling fog, there was a flicker of light, faint but persistent. Wanda, you seeing that? Wade nodded toward the distant glow. Looks like the proverbial light at the end of the tunnel, or it's another horrible nightmare waiting to eat us. Either way, I say we check it out. Wanda nodded, her breath steady despite the effort she was putting into holding back the shadow. That could be it, the core of the dream. We need to get there. Wade didn't need to be told. Twice he fought his way through the fog, Wanda close behind, her magic carving a path through the darkness. The light grew stronger as they approached, but so did the resistance from the dreamscape. The whispers turned into screeches, and the ground beneath them seemed to shift like quicksand, trying to pull them under. Come on, Wade, Wanda urged. We were almost there. I am moving. Wade shot back, struggling to keep his balance as the ground buckled beneath his feet. This better not be another giant taco monster waiting for us. But as they reached the source of the light, the fog parted, revealing something far more disturbing than Wade had anticipated. They stood before a massive mirror, its surface cracked and distorted. The reflection staring back at Wade wasn't just his usual red and black suited self. It was him, but broken, his face scarred beyond recognition, his eyes hollow, his body a twisted, grotesque version of the man he knew he was. The reflection grinned back at him, but it wasn't a friendly grin. It was cold, menacing, a mockery of everything Wade had built his persona around. Wade's heart skipped a beat for once. He was at a loss for words. But Senate, Wanda said softly, the core of the nightmare, the part of you've been avoiding. Wade took a shaky breath, forcing a smile. Well, I guess I should have expected this. Every dream has to have its final boss, right? But even as he tried to joke, something deep inside him twisted. This reflection wasn't just a nightmare. It was a reminder of the pain, the loss, the endless suffering that came with being Wade Wilson, Deadpool, the man who couldn't die but also couldn't truly live. The reflection in the mirror stepped forward, its movements slow and deliberate. Wade tightened his grip on his katanas, but Wanda stopped him with a hand on his arm. You can't fight this one, Wade, she said. This is something you need to face, not destroy. Wade glanced at her, his usual bravado faltering. And what if I don't run to face it? What if I just keep pretending it's not there? Wanda's gaze was steady. That's what's been keeping you trapped here. If you don't confront this, you'll never escape the dreamscape. For a moment, Wade was silent, his eyes locked on the twisted version of himself in the mirror. The reflection smirked as if it knew exactly what Wade was thinking. Okay, fine, Wade muttered, but I'm not doing this alone. You're coming with me, right? I am here, Wanda said, her voice calm and reassuring. But this part is up to you. Wade sighed, sheathing his katanas and stepping toward the mirror. The reflection mimicked his every move, its eyes gleaming with a dark, malevolent light. All right, ugly, Wade said, squaring his shoulders. Let's get this over with. He reached out, his hand trembling slightly, and touched the surface of the mirror. The glass rippled like water, and suddenly Wade was pulled inside. The world shifted again, but this time it wasn't some wild fantasy or apocalyptic wasteland. It was something far worse. Wade found himself standing in a cold, sterile room, the smell of antiseptic thick in the air. The walls were lined with metal tables, each one holding a figure, some human, some not, strapped down and hooked up to machines. Wade's stomach churned as he recognized the scene. This was where it all started. The lab where he had been experimented on, tortured, transformed into the creature he was now. No, he whispered, shaking his head. Not here, not again. But there was no escape. The nightmare had brought him back to his origin, to the moment that had defined him. The reflection was there too, standing by one of the tables, watching him with cold, unblinking eye.
This is it. Wade Wanda. Voice echoed in his mind. This is what you've been running from.
Wade clenched his fists, every instinct telling him to fight, to destroy this place, to burn it to the ground. But that wasn't taunt what Wanda had said. He couldn't taunt this. He had to face it. With a deep breath, Wade stepped forward, his heart pounding in his chest. He approached the table where his reflection stood, and for the first time, he allowed himself to really look, to remember. The pain, the fear, the helplessness, the knowledge that he had been made into a monster, not by choice but by force. It all came flooding back, raw and unfiltered.
I am not that person anymore, Wade said quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. I am not.
The reflection tilted its head, studying him with an expression that was almost pitying. You are, it whispered back. You always will be. Wade's chest tightened, but he didn't tet back away. Instead, he stood his ground, his hands trembling, but his resolve firm. Maybe I am, he said, his voice gaining strength, but that doesn't define me. I am more than that. The reflection, eyes flashed with anger, but Wade didn't slint. For the first time, he wasn't running. He wasn't hiding behind jokes or violence. He was facing himself, his past, his pain. And with that realization, the nightmare began to crumble. The sterile lab faded, the twisted reflection dissolved into mist, and the world around Wade became brighter, warmer. He felt Wanda's presence beside him again, her hand on his shoulder. You did it, she said softly. You broke the cycle. Wade let out a long breath, his body relaxing for the first time since this nightmare had begun. Yeah, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I guess I did. The dreamscape collapsed around them, and Wade felt himself being pulled back to reality, back to the real world, as the last remnants of the nightmare faded. He glanced over at Wanda, a small smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. Thanks, Wanda, he said, for sticking with me. Yours not half bad, you know that. Wanda smiled back, her eyes soft with understanding. Neither are you, Wade. And just like that, they were back in the training room, the nightmare finally behind them.